Hello and welcome back to the channel. LC here, back with another video for Chrono Cross. Today we'll be having a discussion on the top 10 characters in the game and what sets them apart from the rest of the cast. Now mind you, this is purely my opinion based off several playthroughs that I've had with this game, with some slight input from other community members. This list will be a bit more on the concise side, and its main purpose outside of being an opinion base is to give players a general idea of who is a worthwhile investment when it comes to stat wise throughout your playthrough. As usual, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe for future RPG content and let me know down in the comments who you think the top dogs are when it comes to the Chrono Cross roster. Okay, let's start this off with one of my favorite physical attackers in the game, with one of the most tragic backstories as well. Yes, I'm talking about young Miss Orla. Having one of the highest strength values in the games, her attacks when properly leveled up pack a hefty punch that can come in clutch in certain boss encounters. Her value on the field is also buoyed by her excellent high defense rating, and although being a blue innate does give her a bit of stiff competition in the form of both Fargo and Lena, I think her raw damage potential more than makes her a serviceable option when selecting party members. She does have a bit of struggles when it comes to her grid, lacking high level elemental skills, and her lower HP could potentially make her a bit of a liability in some late game encounters, but overall her kit is strong enough to give her this spot at number 10 on our list. And moving on, we have Guile. Now this was a bit of a toss up between him and everyone's favorite cyborg, Robic. While the latter offers some pretty impressive physical strengths and one of the game's most kick-ass tech animations and strong arm, Guile wins out in terms of pure utility. Being a black innate mage, this automatically puts Guile in a very small demographic when it comes to other mages in this game. And outside of Harley, who you only have for a limited amount of time, he is the most reliable of all the black innates. Due to his inverted and lopsided grid growth, Guile in many ways is a patient man's character. This leads to him being arguably less effective early game, but a very compelling option as the game progresses and his grid growth opens up. On top of his stellar magic power and magic defense, his techs also pack a noticeable amount of damage even if they are only single target. Also having access to a multi-target hitting level 3 attack and access to double techs as well means this man can definitely hang with the best of them in late game dungeons. The only major drawbacks are his less than stellar accuracy and stamina recovery, which can be very inopportune at the very worst of times. Overall, a very strong character to have on the field, which gives him this slot at number 9 on our list. And then coming in at number 8, we have Fargo. Now, for like half of my playthrough, I was like, this character is kinda whack. But then I discovered just how much insane shit can be stolen from enemies via pillage. It literally completely upends his entire utility on the playing field. And seeing as you don't have direct access for Kid for certain portions of the game, I found Fargo to be an almost constant party member in an attempt to steal aforementioned coveted items from the bosses. He does hit pretty hard when leveled up and outfitted with proper equipment, however he has some noticeable drawbacks with his lower than average magic defense, which can be a real yikes during certain boss encounters, and his lack of truly high-end grid slots can be a bit of a bother in prolonged enemy encounters when you need a heavy hitting spell just to close out the battle. So what I'm saying is that pillage alone elevates this man to a must-have character throughout the majority of the game, and his overall kit is more than competent. You should probably just field him just so you can see this dope-ass animation as much as possible. Seriously, shout out to SC for keeping in the cigar animation. Sliding in at number 7, we have Karsh, one of the great dragoons of Viper Manor. Outside of having one of the game's coolest character designs, this man is an absolute unit on the battlefield, boasting some of the game's highest best overall raw stats, including incredibly high strength, HP, and defense. He is a character that only gets better as the story progresses. To sweeten the deal even further, all of his tech skills are extremely powerful, with my personal favorite, the Axiomatic, doing excellent damage consistently. The only drawback for Karsh is that in exchange for his extremely powerful base stats, his grid can be a wee bit problematic, as well as his lower than average stamina regain. This can potentially be an issue late game depending on your stats and team comp. TLDR, this man is just too good. Rolling in at number 6, we have Surge's island wife, Lena. While initially you may think that this is a very basic mage in the world of Chrono Cross, Lena quickly blossoms into one of the game's most dominant elemental users due to her excellent grid as well as her absolutely insane techs. Maiden Faith and Maiden Heart are frontrunners for some of the most powerful techs in this game, and in particular, Maiden Faith's auto-revivability makes Lena a super clutch party member for late game encounters. This paired with her extremely high magic power makes a very strong argument for best magic user in the game. Hopping over to our secondary main protagonist Kid, coming in at number 5, our spunky Australian accent maiden with a heart of gold, Kid is one of the most versatile characters in this entire game. Let's start off with some things that make her a potent combatant on the battlefield. Starting off with her high accuracy and extremely high stamina recovery rate. These paired together will ensure that she will always be able to pull off a powerful tech consistently throughout battle. Speaking of techs, her grid is widely considered to be the best in the game, giving her access to a multitude of both offensive and defensive options throughout battle. Then moving on to what makes her definitely a bit broken is her Pilfer ability, which gives her the ability to steal items from enemies, and as you heard in the Fargo section, this is absolutely indispensable throughout many late game boss encounters. In closing, she also brings some very strong text to the forefront for Red innate, making her a strong option at almost all times. The only major drawback is that she is inaccessible during some key points throughout the game, which holds her back just a bit. Moving on to number 4, we have the Lady of Viper Manor, Riddell. Being the character with the highest magical stats in the game, right out the gate she brings a lot to the table, even if she is a relatively mid to late game addition to your squad. Boasting several strong defensive techs paired with a very generous elemental grid, she is everything you could want out of a mage. Her only major drawback is that she has an issue fighting opponents that hit very hard physically, as she has very dreadfully low HP, tied with a lower than average physical defense stat as well.
Snake, are you okay? Snake? Snake!
However, this is somewhat offset by her absolutely terrific techs, which can be considered to be some of the best support in the entirety of Chrono Cross, and have saved me from many a boss fight. All hail to the queen. And moving into the big 3, we have Lemme coming in at number 3. Outside of being the coolest looking character in this game, he is also easily one of the most powerful. He is almost like a souped up version of Karsh, boasting very strong physical stats and the same smaller grid as his fellow Dragoon. However, Glenn has a few key X factors. First and foremost, his ability to dual wield Ironizers makes him one of the game's best physical attackers. This tied with X Strike that he gets with Surge makes him a very dominant physical force on the field. I mean, this kid just kinda has it all, and he's a very worthy successor to the Glenn title. And then there were 2. Coming in as a runner-up, we have Harley, the Dragon Princess, the strongest black innate in the entirety of the game, with the most solid overall stats in the game. She's a god in almost all ways that matter in this game, making her easily a dominant force on the field at all times. Her only major drawback is that she's only available for an extremely limited portion of the game, meaning that she is almost certainly exclusively a New Game Plus character if you want to get the true value and utility of her kit. So if you want ridiculous stats, she has that. If you want broken text, she has that. If you want extremely powerful grid, she also has that. The rightful Queen of the Dragons. And coming in at number 1, we have Surge/Lynx. Now right out the gate, I know this placement above Harley might be a bit contentious, however there are 2 things that help him edge out the competition. Firstly, his availability throughout every little aspect of this game, and the second being the Master Moon. Boasting an extremely strong overall kit, including great physical and magical stats, and extremely powerful techs such as the Insane Luminaire. Now while in Lynx form, he does suffer just a bit due to being a black innate. He may suffer just a touch more in some of the harder boss encounters, but his techs are equally on par with Surge's. Surge benefits from main character syndrome, but almost cranked to an absurd degree. They kinda just kept giving him more and more stuff, including an extremely powerful grid and the absolute cherry on top, Master Moon. Boasting an absurdly high critical rate, this weapon transforms Surge into a complete menace late game on the battlefield, making him the most powerful character in Chrono Cross, in my very humble opinion. And that'll do it for our countdown of most powerful Chrono Cross characters. Let me know who you have as top dogs down in the comments below. And as usual, make sure you subscribe for future Chrono Cross and RPG content. LC signing out. Peace.